our office staff. So we're more inclined to be around to help out and more willing to do it. In the evenings, we have requested, so we sent out a request to agents saying, are you guys interested in doing it? So we only had the people who were interested in being on call, and it's every other week. We switch it out so that they're not always on call on that day.
Thank you. And Nadine, just before the next question, do you guys pay for on-calls?
Yes, we do.
An extra premium or?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, Marie? Oh, okay. And Veronica, any questions over here? No? Okay. So some of the other things that Grant had talked about in his challenges was the monitoring of the staff. And with everybody working from home, it's a little bit different than when we were in the office and easily to monitor them. So Nadine, can you talk to that, please?
To monitoring them?
Their operator stats.
Oh, just kind of the call quality side of it? Oh, that's easy. That's what I do. So, no, it hasn't been so bad because with our office, we are very rural. So COVID didn't really affect our office staff that much. Nobody really went remote. We had some agents kind of go off if they were not feeling well. We had them set up remotely if they wanted to. But being pretty much the only remote operator right now and doing the call quality, it really hasn't been much of a difference. I don't know how it was with you guys, but for us it wasn't that off.
Okay. LaShonda?
For call monitoring, if the agents are having an issue, there's something that we can see just as an example. And so we can actually see if somebody's been on a status for too long, we can reach out, what's going on, that kind of thing. It hasn't really impacted too much. Generally, the agents are good about reaching out if they have an issue as well. So outside of that, yeah, there's not really a huge impact. It's all remote.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, Grant.
For us, it's sort of, we have something that's built into for the supervisors so that they can sort of see all the agents that are on, the accounts that they're in, how long they are in a call, and how long they've been disconnected from a certain call. So we have that monitoring, which certainly helps. And so if we see an agent who is, in disconnect for too long, we can reach out to them via Teams and be like, hey, is everything all right? Or if they go into off without saying anything, it gives us a chance to be like, hey, is everything okay? So it's just sort of keeping track of everyone because you can't see them in the office, it gets tricky to sort of keep track of everyone during a shift.
And are you seeing differences between when we were in the office and working from home now?
I know that in terms of them going into off or anything like that, we haven't seen too much of a difference. I know that disconnect times were a little bit of a concern, but that certainly improved just as we've gotten more and more used to being remote. That certainly helped. It was just sort of the initial stages of getting used to the equipment, used to not being in the office, and used to sort of getting used to the different environment in this case.
So the perception that some people have that because they're working from home and maybe they're going to make a coffee or they're going to answer the door, do you see that as something that is an actual issue or?
For us, not particularly. Washroom breaks are standard anyways to begin with. But in terms of people taking longer to go and make coffee, the door thing, people being like, oh, hey, someone's at the door, it's gonna happen. It's something that sort of comes with the remote environment, but they're not gone for very long. And they at least let the supervisor know that they're off the system and this is the reason why.
Okay, excellent. We've had a lot of conversation over the last few days in regards to being remote or coming into the office. So that leads me to the next question. Nadine, what are the pros and cons of working remotely and from the office?
Okay. So I can really delve into the pros and cons of being remote. I don't really go into the office all that much, and with the pandemic, I got to go this past summer, which was nice. But the pros, definitely, nothing on my desk gets moved. So Any sticky notes I put up, they stay there, and it makes me so happy because I love sticky notes. I find my personality as a remote, I work better. I don't have people micromanaging me. I don't have people coming and talking to me. And that's one thing when I go into the office, everybody's so excited to see me. I can barely get any work done. So when I'm working from home, I get to kind of just tunnel vision, get my work done, and get going. And one other thing that is a pro for me personally is I'm a very vibey person. So when I walk into an office and there is a mood, I feel it. So working from home, I don't get that. It's always just me. So depending on how my mood is, I'm usually pretty good. Some cons is that you do sometimes, as a remote operator, get forgotten. And that's been a struggle, but we've worked really hard on keeping the remotes in the loop on things, so that's gotten better. I don't always know what's going on with agents, so one thing that I've done to kind of alleviate that is communicate more, touch base with them more, especially as a trainer now. I want to make sure that everybody's good, but I never know exactly what's going on. And sometimes the communication, as hard as we try to keep it going, does get lost on occasion. So those are the pros and cons as a remote. And you save gas, a lot of gas, and with the prices, oh, that's nice. Very nice.
Diane, do you want to talk to that as well?
A few other things. Mainly for me, losing that commute. I don't like driving in the snow. I don't like cleaning off my car. I don't like shoveling the driveway. So if I can get out of bed and go to work at home, that makes my winter so much better.
Especially in the winter.
And then the advantage for a lot of my team is you can work securely from, as long as you have a secure spot, you can work from anywhere. We have had staff go to the States, and they are visiting his family for a month, but they're there for 2 weeks of vacation and then 2 weeks of working from there, and then they can come back. So that flexibility to help with their life, that is a big plus for us. Some of it, people find it really easy to pick up that overtime they're looking for because they don't have to drive into the office, and if that's 45 minutes away, that's also gas and time just to pick up the overtime as well. Whereas if they're home, it's easy. Meal options. Have you ever gone to the office and hated the lunch you brought with you by the time lunch is swung around? That's for some people. The cons, less team interaction, like Nadine said. Some of them, yeah, you definitely feel like you got missed, or they've bonded really well with their training group, but with the rest of the team, there's still a lot of work to do there. Just that whole feeling of being disconnected. And then there's the impact of kind of remote issues, like if your internet goes down, if your power goes out, that can be a lot of burden on the staff to deal with, because before the company was responsible for all of that. So that's just extra weight on them that they're now have to hold themselves.
I'm sorry?
Rogers incident.
It definitely came in handy for that, for sure.
I just wanted to add, I think a big point was, depending on the type of personality that you had, as you're mentioning, that really speaks to certain people that work well being remote or do need to be in the office, or even a combination of both, because working from home, it can be isolating, and you have to take that extra step to make sure that you're involved, and the company has to take that step to make sure that they're involving everybody, and people get to talk with each other, get to know each other, get to know your teammates, things like that. So working from home, depending on the personality, I think it can work or it can't. It can be a pro and a con.
Okay, excellent.
I know that certainly for us, keeping that sort of work culture going has been difficult, because for Alliance, our potlucks have been a big thing. When I first started, the potlucks were a huge sort of time for us to get together, to cook for each other, and once we went remote, that sort of disappeared. So trying to keep that sort of employee engagement, that sort of the employee interaction, it's been tricky.
Absolutely. I think we're all kind of feeling that. What do you feel that, I think some of you have put out surveys to your staff and to try and get the feel of if they want to return to the office and not. So what has been some of the feedback from the staff that you've received?
Because a lot of the agents are so spread out in different provinces, sometimes it's really not an option. So what helps is receiving equipment, for example, so you can really set up a home office and have all the equipment that you need, everything works properly, runs smoothly. I didn't realize how slow my laptop was until I got a work computer. And then when I went back to my laptop, I said, I can't do this anymore.
Excellent. So LaShonda, what's some of the challenges that you've been dealing with?
Challenges for me, I would say, I think similarly with everybody, is absenteeism. When the calls really start to pile up, the dispatches pile up, and then I find people will call like 6 times for the same issue within an hour, and then you have all these dispatches for the same person. And the calls, as they're going, the timing for your dispatch increases as well. So, not to kind of say similarly to what Grant said, but absenteeism is kind of a big thing because that's what kind of impacts that. When you have enough staff on, you can pretty much, you have those fluctuations, but you can pretty much get by. So that would be what I would say.
So when we were talking over the past few weeks, you had mentioned some of the struggles around that absenteeism. Is your team kind of multitasking different duties? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So sometimes it would be like, for example, I'm a dispatch, so when I'm taking calls and the dispatches start to kind of go up, I'll take myself off and then I'll deal with certain ones that I know are urgent, and then I'll go back to taking calls. And it really helps to see the accounts, and as you kind of learn to know which ones are going to be more of an urgent nature versus the other ones that can wait. So I deal with those dispatches first, and then as I'm going through the calls, I can see, okay, these are all French calls, I'll do some dispatch right now. These are English ones, let me jump on, I'll take calls for right now. And I'll kind of go back and forth like that, and then you kind of delegate as well. Like, hey, can you take these amount of calls? Can you push your break back 5 minutes and just jump on just to clear those ones and then go ahead, that type of thing.
Okay. Grants, how do you kind of ensure that your staff are able to multitask? Because not everyone's a good multitasker, so how do you help them with that?
Yeah, certainly training helps. Once they get to a certain level and they're interested in becoming a dispatcher, then they'll go through a couple of sessions in terms of dispatching. It also helps because we always have a backup dispatcher with us for every shift. So if it's a Saturday morning and it's just insane in terms of calls, and I have enough staff on who can take those calls, but I myself am getting backed up with, 50 or 60 dispatches, my backup can jump in and assist with me. And there's also sort of like, there's times where I'll check in with my backup dispatcher and be like, hey, it's a bit quiet now. Do you want to sort of work on doing your on-call schedules, replying to any clients that are sending in emails or something of that sort? And so it's a little bit of coaching, but I also find that it really does come with experience and practice, and you just get better at it over time.
Excellent. Diane?
Just to make sure to have the right people, we kind of phase in multitasking as part of the interview questions and some of the testing we do. And then our training team does a really good job of building them up in levels of multitasking as they're going through the skill sets, and they're offering the support there to them to answer their questions, doing check-ins, offering extra training at the for a supervisory team does it too. They're making faces at me. And then getting the feedback from them on the process. So if we're trying to teach them something and it's not going well, maybe it's how we're teaching them. And then so how to reapproach that.
Okay. So you said something there about in the interview process. So how do you tie that into the interview process?
We have a couple scenario questions, one based on computers and dealing with multiple screens with multiple things going on at the same time, and talk to us about how you'd handle that. And then a situational one based on one of our accounts. So this is happening, and we're like, we know you don't know about our company or our business, but how would you handle this?
Okay,
So.
excellent. And Nadine, so some of the things that we've heard about is, and some of the challenges that we've talked about has also been around onboarding and making sure that we're hiring the right people. So how do you ensure that we're hiring specifically for these positions that we are struggling with hiring?
All right. So in our office, everybody starts out on phones. So we're not always hiring, not really ever hiring for a specific position. So the way that we do our hiring is agent first, expected to learn the phones so that when they are office staff, they can help out, like I said, and they can eventually move on to other positions. And this is made clear to anybody that is hired that we start out this way and that you can eventually kind of go into a field that you're more interested in. The biggest challenge is making people understand how things could look on phones. So we try to be as open as possible to ensure understanding difficulties that may come up during a call. But sometimes it's not easy to get them to understand that. But we do utilize a few programs to give the new agents videos of scenarios that may come up if you are answering specific calls. And it helps to kind of get them in the mindset of what is potentially to come.
Okay, and who makes those videos for you guys?
We do some of them. We absolutely love this lady named Myra Golding. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but we utilize some of her videos. But we have been doing in-house videos as well, which we've been using for training at the same time. So.
Excellent. You said something that I really love is that obviously while we're dealing with absenteeism and increases in call volumes, that you have admin jump on and answer the phones. So what do you do to keep them up to date to ensure that they are able to jump on and answer those calls?
So that actually is something that we have been discussing in the last few weeks is right now they just kind of jump on. At times there are new accounts that they don't fully understand. So we are actually right now in the process of setting up our office staff to be on phones for a shift once a month. So that way they can kind of get a refresher on exactly what the accounts look like. So that right now is in the works. So we'll see how that goes.
Excellent.
Just to add to that, we have a programmer who usually works in the evening time. And so she has a set time from 5 to 6, which is our biggest checkout time. That's when she actually hops on. So it's built into her schedule. And then during the day, our operations, the two operations managers, they are typically off the system. But if things sort of go a little bit awry, they, of course, are able to jump on and take calls or help with dispatches.
Excellent, thank you. Does anybody have any questions in regards to hiring and onboarding? Go ahead, Cindy. Oh, go ahead.
So I find that this group of people, team leaders and supervisors, are the hardest working in our industry. Bar none. We have to support all the people on the front line, then we get it coming from us, try this, do this, what's wrong with that. So I just wonder, through the last year with mental health crisis just everywhere amongst ourselves and our team, if each of you had any advice for how we can support you better and people in positions like yours, because we know you're getting it from all angles, and sometimes we just don't know what to do. We don't know what else we can do to help you. And so, very impromptu question. I know you're not.
It's okay, it was on their list, so they are prepared. So they are, go ahead, anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I can sort of tackle this one a little bit. Definitely, there are times, there have been shifts where, you know, I've had a whole bunch of stuff. I've had to take calls, I'm dispatching, I'm answering agent questions, I'm, you know, replying to my operations manager, training, putting in on-call schedules. So all that happens in one shift. And there have been times where it really comes down to just knowing that my managers are there to support me when I need it most. So I can always go to them and be like, hey, you know, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me out? So just sort of knowing that that support is there in the first place, and there's a certain level of comfort that comes with that. And just training as well. You know, I'm always going to be learning in my job. So knowing that I can access training and ask questions and be like, hey, how can I improve on this? That in turn sort of helps me in my anxiety or the stress level during a certain shift.
Yeah. To add on to that, actually, our office is very, very mental health aware. Our HR is EAP, so they're trained to see it, support it, do anything that they can. With our agents, we are making them very aware of when to ask for help. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please touch base. Ask us if we can help with anything. We'll hop on and help you out while you can go take a break. But like I said, our HR department is trained to see it, so even if they don't necessarily know they're getting overwhelmed, we can potentially be like, well, you know what, let's just go take a little bit of a break and see where you're at. In our meetings as well, we do touch base on that. So half of our meeting is office stuff, as it should be, new accounts, anything to address. But the other half is always soft skills, mental health awareness, anything to help the agents. We've even had a finance manager come in and give us advice on how to save money. So we are very, very big on pushing our agents to be aware and let us know if it's too much. And so far, people have been pretty good at letting us know.
I find the two big things is if you know they're having a hard day, just go up to them and ask them, what can I do to help? Is there something I can take off your plate? It might take them 15 minutes and it's going to take you longer, but it's off their plate. They have a moment to breathe. And then do those check-ins. Check in with them. It can be a 5-minute conversation or something, but having that moment to pause or do something fun at the start of the meeting as an icebreaker, so it's not all, oh, here's all the work, work, work. Let's talk about your favorite cake. I'm bringing up cake.
It seems to be a theme.
I would also add to that and say, maybe in the training process when they're starting or whatever point of time that you're able to do it, teaching agents how to de-escalate those difficult calls. Some calls, you're able to talk somebody down. Some calls, you need to let them know, politely of course, but speak to me respectfully so that I can help you. Having people learn how to deal with these difficult calls, because we all have personal lives that we're dealing with as well. So we could be having the worst situations happen. We have to present ourselves like we're happy to take this call and I want to help you and everything's all great. We don't necessarily need to be taking abuse from people that are calling. So a big part of helping with the whole mental health of the job itself is teaching agents how to deal with those type of calls.
Just going to add on to that as well. I just thought of this. Because of the fact that we kind of push our agents to be aware of it, some of our agents, I've had somebody come up to me and say, hey, so-and-so is struggling right now. So we also have our agents kind of looking out for each other, which is really nice, and able to notice that something's off. So we've been able to help them in that capacity as well.
And I think also to add on to that, letting agents know that it's all right to take a break. So if you have a really difficult call that sort of hits home for you, let them know that 1 to 2 minutes or even longer to get yourself together again. And then always knowing that if there's a difficult call that really sort of impacts you, come to us, come to, a manager and talk about it and let them know as to what is going on here.
So to piggyback, oh,
I found it interesting that almost all of you went to write how you could support the agents, and none of you answered the question about how you could support them. You're great at the job.
So I will let you know that the leadership team does approach us as well. So for example, a few weeks ago, I was losing my mind a little bit, and Miss Gloria over here called me up and goes, what can I do for you? So we know we have that support as well in the leadership team.
Oh, Gary, hold on, Gary.
Oh, beautiful.
Nadine, is it working? Okay. If it's not too personal, can you tell us about what you asked for help? In terms of, that's the key that I think a lot of owners would like to know, is not just that we all struggle, owners struggle for that matter, but Cindy's point was really well taken. You guys are sort of in between the two worlds, and what is it like, if we were to say to you today, the question, What could owners do to make your lives better?
Help?
I'm just going to piggyback from what Grant said with support from our management. We have an awesome team. So I am a 3-weekend team or supervisor, team lead. Sorry. But so I'm on call 3 weekends a month. Grant is my 4th weekend. And we do that interchangeably with another supervisor. So so if I need help, he's my go-to. So I will text him, then I go through the other supervisor, and we have our system. So if all else fails, Kelly, Miss Kelly back here, text her, she's on in a minute. Just knowing that you have that support and having those people as your backup. And to go with Nadine's, the whole on-call thing, just knowing our schedule and having that, those are things that myself, I'm having an aha moment. So just little things like that, that's helpful.
To kind of piggyback off that, because we've been dealing with something similar, and we talked about it a little bit as the panel, is that you asked the question from a supervisor's and a team lead standpoint, but as you mentioned, you reach out to Kelly. If nobody else, then you reach out to the ops manager, and the ops managers are dealing with the same kind of burnout that everybody else is, right? So as an owner, being able to be there and make sure that they're taking the time off that they need to take off, make sure that they're setting boundaries, because they're on 24/7. So they're being called constantly because they are there to support the rest of the team. So just making sure that they are taking that time off and that they're setting boundaries. We've had many conversations about it recently, is that they need to be able to have that time too. So if it's urgent and it's tech support that they need and the IT is not available for them, they will jump on and answer that. But if it's, hey, sometimes the CSRs and the staff just want somebody to talk to about their own personal stuff going on, but just say, hey, maybe that's something we can discuss tomorrow when we're in the office. So make sure that they're setting the boundaries with the staff from that standpoint, because they always have to be on 24/7 to support their team. So go ahead if you have anything else to add.
Everybody said kind of what I was going to say. Support just goes a long way. You know, you can reach out to any one of your fellow peers. Gary sometimes will be like, good morning, how are you? It's just knowing that somebody is there and that at any moment, if I need to vent or I've had a rough call, sometimes it's not even, sometimes it's rough in the sense of, for example, I had a man that called and he had lost his father and he broke down on the phone and he's trying to get through answering the questions to take his information. And you have to kind of just talk him through, but it was a hard call for me because I had lost my father, so I understood what he was going through and I empathized with him. And then after that call, I was like, oh gosh. And I kind of just like, I need a second, let me just run to the washroom or something, go walk outside for a second. She needed a second, but knowing that, I don't remember who I reached out to that day, but some of them are here today. I reach out to someone and they'll talk me through it and get through the situation. Just knowing that that support is there at any given time, day or night, it goes a very, very long way.
So being remote though, because I know you're fully remote, so in the office, we used to be able to walk by and see that somebody was having a down day. So without you proactively going to your supervisor or manager, how else can we help with that though?
We have a few different kind of like group chats. One of them is more so just, you know, day-to-day conversation. One of them is work-related issues and any other specific issues, things like that. So in that chat, sometimes I'll literally just reach out, how's everybody's day going? Is everybody okay? I love to send those little gifts. I think they're so funny and cute. So randomly I might send one of those just to kind of put a smile on someone's face and just kind of go through it like that. I don't know.
Yes, Jen.
Okay. The fact that you're up on the panel would suggest that everybody can speak up and speak out, or you wouldn't have achieved your position or be invited. I'm wondering, what do you do with the new agents that maybe don't have that confidence to speak up that I'm struggling? And I think maybe some of the absenteeism is because rather than being able to speak up and say I'm struggling with things, that they're sort of checking out one way or another. Like, how do you know with remote workers if they're doing okay, and are they be able to self-identify that they're struggling?
So I'll touch on a bit of that because we don't really have many remote operators. There is one that we do have that I personally touch base frequently. I know that the HR team, or HR, touches base with her frequently. But one of the things that I was going to say, not just agent-wise, but our leadership team, we meet in the morning, in the afternoon, and just before we leave. So in the morning, we'll reach out, have our teams meeting face-to-face, and kind of go over what the plan for the day is. And that's kind of where you can see, okay, so can I help you with this? Because you seem to have a lot of stuff to do. And we're able to kind of figure it out in that way. When it comes to agents, I can't personally go around, but I do message everybody, good morning, how's everybody doing? But I do know that Gloria in HR walks around to every single table every morning and touches base with every agent that's on and does it throughout the day. So that's how we kind of make sure that people know that they can tell us, no, you know, it's a little rough right now. So just having that open door policy kind of thing.
And I think that that sort of touches into one of the struggles of going remote, is that we certainly have a 3-month check-in and a 6-month check-in with our new employees, where they have the chance to sort of say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. But on a day-to-day basis, because we're not in the office with them, it gets much more difficult to check in and see how they're doing on that day. We can certainly, you know, if they're in off for a long period of time, we can check in. That's an opportunity. But other than that, one of the big sort of difficulties is letting them know that we're there for them to come to us if there is an issue. But they can't be silent about that. You know, if there's a problem, certainly come to us at any time. And making that open door policy, even though there's no physical door, making it aware to the agents that it exists on a day-to-day basis, probably one of the best ways.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Some of the challenges kind of that we had talked about and why they would need support was some work-life balance things. So what are you guys doing to help with work-life balance to ensure that the staff are, you know, being taken care of from that aspect?
For us, we really try and encourage the use of our vacation. We have 3 kind of cutoff dates throughout the year where it's done by seniority, and then it's first come, first serve after that. But we try and really promote to take the vacation for that, and then we get closer to the end of the year, and if someone hasn't used up their vacation, we start chasing them. We get really annoying. Take your vacation. Come on, put some in. And then we try and also use our time off request system, which is, it's just an unpaid day, so they work a mix. It's a 2 weekends out of 3. So their days off shift. So if they want a specific day off because they have an event or something like that, we post our schedules 3 weeks out, but they can put that in ahead going, I want this day off for this because it's important to me. And they don't have to necessarily give the reason. They can just go, I want this day. So that's really important there. And then we do use that text and call out for coverage, but we really encourage that they turn that off when they're on vacation. Forget that work exists. We're not there, bye-bye. Because there are some people who will pick up big overtime on their vacation. We're like, weren't you supposed to go have fun? Think about that one.
Excellent. Go ahead, Nadine.
One thing that we do in our office is some people can, but it is discouraged to access your email. So we do have a personal office email for Intercon messaging, and people are expected to come in before their shift, look through their email, but encouraged not to look at it unless you're in the office. Sometimes people have some extra training stuff that they need to get that done, and they want to come in on their time off, and we really discourage that, and we let them know, no, when you're on, ask somebody in office, we'll cover phones for you while you get that done. So we really try to push people to not really delve into anything work-related when they are off.
So in my home, we have a dedicated no technology time. Usually it's about an hour or two before bedtime. So no phones, no computers, no tablets, nothing actually in the bedroom, so that we get that break. I get that break, because this was something that I struggled with quite a bit, was that work-life balance once going to remote. But now I have dedicated times where I don't look at my phone, don't look at my tablet, I don't check emails, nothing like that, and it helps quite a bit.
Just to add to that, sometimes it's even, for example, if you have your break, being encouraged to go sit outside for a few minutes even, just to get some sun, or I started feeding like little squirrels and the birds and some bread, just little stuff like that on your break to just break up your day a little bit, because I think we do consume so much screen time, to your point. Working, you know, obviously you're looking at a screen, by the time you're done you have to check your phone, maybe you want to watch TV. It's a lot of screen time. Also, take care of your eyes, that's a big point. Yeah, it's a really big point.
And so one of the things that we talked about in Dana's session earlier was in regards to retention too. So we're all dealing with staffing issues. So why do you feel that the staff are leaving? Go ahead, Diane.
Kind of, there's a varying trends, and it's depending on when the reason leaving, what the reason is, but some people are only looking for that short-term gap-fill job, and they're assuming that a call center is going to be that job. They're not really anticipating the months of training and all the skill sets you're going through, and just sometimes what an emotional roller coaster your day is going to be, just from all the varying types of calls you got. And we're pretty flexible, but it's not necessarily the flexibility they want. The calls don't go away, you can't answer them later, so it's not like I can come in at 5 p.m. or 2 a.m., whatever works best for my life, to come and do my job, because the calls are constant. So that flexibility that most people picture for that remote job, it's not there. It's a different kind of flexibility. Other people, COVID has really brought to life how many things you've put on hold in your life, what dreams you haven't pursued, what really matters to you personally, and more people are going to achieve that. It might mean they're reducing their hours, or they're leaving completely. They might even be retiring early because they want to go travel the world. They've been putting it off for years and years and years. Oh, I need this much money, whatever reason they've come up with in their head. And it's just kind of what's important to them. That whole has changed drastically.
So what are you doing to help with that, to ensure that you're helping them achieve the things that they want to achieve now?
We do have some kind of goal support. We have our Dream Initiative, where they can go talk to the owner and he'll help them set up plans to achieve their dream. We have our PGAP, which is our professional program. So if you're going back to school to learn something and you're achieving certain marks, we'll help pay for your schooling. Various ways we can support them. Or if they have a charity that it's really important to them, we're a really big proponent of, post it on our forum and invite us to donate. And oftentimes the company will try and match, to kind of highlight their dream, and like, we're here to support you in whatever way we can that you feel you want it.
Excellent. Okay, LaShonda?
I think that a big issue is that people looking at the job, they think that it's very simple. You start at home, you're answering the phones, how hard could it be? Until you actually do it, and then you realize all the different issues, if you will, that you can encounter working at a job like this. It's not as simple and easy, and a lot of people are not prepared, I feel like, for that. So it's kind of piggybacking on what Diane said. So once they realize that, it's like, okay, I'll do this for a little bit just to fill in, but I'm also looking for something else right now. When I find that, I'm gonna leave. So in training, trying to prepare people as much as possible to say, hey, this is what it's gonna be, this is what it's gonna be like, these are things that you could encounter, and then the rest of the training actually does happen, I feel like, when you're actually doing the job, because you don't really know until you're really doing it. And once you're prepared for that, I feel like that's how you kind of try to balance it. But again, to Diane's point, some people are really just looking for that. Once they have that, that's it.
And this is one of the reasons why we have a very detailed job posting when we're advertising. We've really made it a focus to make it as detailed as possible, so that we're hiring the right staff who are fully aware as to what the job involves and everything that it sort of entails, so that they're aware right up front as to what will be happening.
One of the things that we talked about when we were meeting was the whole that a few months later or a few weeks later, they're like, this isn't what I signed up for. So what are you guys doing to ensure that you're articulating exactly what we do and showing them what we do in that process?
One of our interview questions is literally, this is kind of a really crappy call situation that may come up. It's rare, but here it is, and what would you do? So that question is right in the interview, so you kind of know that's there. We also try and emphasize that we do from urgent dispatch life and death, and we use those words, life and death, to someone's grandma's walking down the street, it's weird. So we try and just emphasize that, and then our training team tries to go through the different skill sets, and we match that kind of with the urgency of it. So you're getting that sense and it's building. So we start with kind of, oh, I can breathe through these calls, and then you start getting to, oh, someone might be dying.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left, so I want to make sure that we answer anybody's questions that they want to answer. Does there anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Cindy. I know.
You guys are my favorite topic because this is where we can learn the most is from what you have to tell us. So do you find that you're having to compromise right now with the people that you're recruiting, like given the market conditions? Has that made it more difficult to find the right people, and that maybe sometimes we're having compromise? I mean, right now we're pretty lucky in St. John's, Newfoundland. There's still access to people, but that's going to dry up. So I'm just wondering if you could respond to that.
We certainly, for myself, for example, I have made an accommodation in terms of how many days that I'm working. Certainly, the managers try to accommodate as best they can. So if an accommodation is made that they only want to work certain hours, or they only want to work certain days, or they want to reduce their days, it certainly has now become part of the job is listening to those accommodations and trying to accommodate them as best as possible. And it really has become more of a factor during this pandemic time period.
I think, Cindy, to go back to that question as well, is that we've found that not only are we hiring for specific shifts sometimes, that we are also hiring flexible full-time staff. So that could be anywhere from 28 hours to 40 hours. And we don't guarantee them anything, and we will work around their schedule and accommodate. But we all know that we're 24/7, and it's hard to do that always. So that's where that flexibility of maybe this week you only have 28 hours and next week you have 40. That has definitely helped us kind of be able to recruit as well as retain staff as well. So, go ahead.
I'm interested in, because we have all kinds of programs that will give us profiles and stuff of the kind of people that we want to hire. And I was just wondering if you have noticed a particular personality trait or group of personality traits that you said, oh, this is kind of, I see this in common with all my ACE agents kind of thing. Is there certain personality traits that stand out?
I would say somebody personable. That kind of goes a long way because you're dealing with people every day, all different types of people. And even if you have that ability to almost read a person in a sense. For example, I don't know if it's kind of hard to give one word for that, but for example, you get calls of people that you know are going to be chatty, so you can have a better call if you're that type. Some people want to get straight to the point and just go. So having that ability to kind of like read a person, I think that that's one quality that I would say.
Another one is a willingness to learn, because you're going to get a whole bunch thrown at you. There's a whole slew of industries to learn, and if you're not going to be receptive to taking something in, then that becomes a challenge. You're going to get stopped somewhere where you've just decided you've had enough. So that willingness to learn and adapt and just even think outside the box, because if you get a call this doesn't fit the script, what do I do? Some people are really good at adapting to that and like, here, I can work around and do this. So that learning and adaptability.
So in our office, when we hire, we do the personalities, the colors. And in all honesty, you want all the colors. You want the doer, you want the thinker, you want all of those types of people in your industry because every single one of them is going to help you in a certain way. I've noticed a trend of doers lately. So that's always a good one to have, but you do want to have the balance of everything because it's every single personality type will contribute in a certain way.
When you say doers, are you referring to more like extroverted people, outgoing people? Because we have, for instance, we have an amazing team, but we have some very introverted people who are like at the top of the game in terms of handling calls and all that. And on the other side of the fence, we have very, very extroverted people as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of doers, is that what you mean by doers?
Not necessarily, because we do have some classified as doers that are introverts. It's all about their learning style, how they learn, how they adapt to what they're taught. So we do that for the trainers because we want to know exactly how they're going to learn. So it doesn't matter if they're introvert or extrovert. They could be in any classification of the learning style.
Yeah, that's the same with us. We have a wide range of different personalities, from very, very extroverted to quite introverted. Really, for us, it's matching that trainee with the trainer. So we put quite a bit of thought based on the trainer's personality and based on the trainee's personality. We try to match them up so that they can learn best and move through the levels the best way that they can.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Kathy. Oh, Lori.
Just to add on to that point of what Nadine was saying there, the one thing that our people do have in common with the personality types is, although we've got all different personality types, the one thing that they do actually all have in common is that they're all helpers. So during the interview phase, I'll set it up to ask them for help in something before they realize that I'm the person interviewing them. And whether it be hold the door open for me, or can you grab this for me, or can you just bear with me for a moment while I go and assist somebody else, because I want to attract the helpers, because at the end of the day, we're all passionate about helping people.
Thank you, Gloria, for saying that. I did not know you do that. That's awesome.
Brad, Kathy
That's
had a
great.
Kathy has a question.
Just to go back to the flexibility, we do the same thing. We hire people just on flexibility only, so they only work so many hours and things like that. But what we're finding is when they get in there and they start, confidence and they know what they're doing, and because I think sometimes people say they're flexible because they're not sure what they're getting themselves into. But now we're finding that our flexible people want to become more than just flexible people. They want full-time hours, and you've hired so many flexible people, you can't always give them, but you don't want to lose them either. So how do you deal with that?
I think for us, Alicia could probably answer better, but I think it's a mixture of things, because we do sometimes have that, especially with having the turnover issues or covering vacation, spikes in call volumes, there's always that flexibility to give them full-time hours. We've also looked for different kind of areas where they can help us on different projects and stuff like that, so that they have that flexibility. We're pretty lucky because we have different departments and different offices where they can kind of transition. So as we're slowing down on a project, we can easily move, those A players over to another team. So that makes it really easy as well.
Yeah.
I don't know
Thanks.
if anybody else has anything to add for that one. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I guess we're done. So thank you to the panelists for their input and sharing everything.
I would like to say thank you to all of you. You guys are all superstars as far as I'm concerned. That was an awesome presentation. And I'd like to give each one of you one of these.
Thank you.
And I'll be right back with
You guys come down. You're good, yeah.
Did we get up now?
You can get up now.
Thank you.
Looking to move to Genesis. He's got a great team put together that can help you program your accounts into contact-based architecture, or if you have new accounts, you have that really difficult account you want to take on. Brad's teams help a lot of people create a template and can help that for you. I'm going to talk just a little bit about Amtoco and where we're at. Over the pandemic, we have grown quite a bit. We have 35 programmers now in the States, and we have 2 Canadian consultants. We've been enhancing the building in Wisconsin, and we're also looking to expand our St. Louis office and add more programmers there. We're actively hiring programmers, people for contracted services, and I don't know, a couple of the people that we've hired, Brad, for contracted services, Kelly Harrigan and Jamie Goodry are on our staff now as full-time programmers for us. And we have we're kind of back in the corner in the vendor room. If you guys want to come back and visit us, we have some flash drives, we have some water bottles, we have some luggage grips, so that when you go to the airport, you know what your luggage looks like, because you got a bright green handle on there. Some of the new things that we're coming out with, that's been out, is our our web agents. We've been enhancing upon that. Our hosted has grown quite a bit. I think we're close to 100 hosted sites now between the 2 divisions. So we've really ramped that up, and we have some people that are moving to hosted that will be installed in the next few months. So anybody, just come by and see us. You know us, so we're happy to come back and talk to you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tom Schenk. I'm with People Praise. You may remember me from this morning. And so we've got a product that's a web application that consumes your task data, whether it's StarTel, Telco, or whatnot. And what our goal is we want to get that information down into the hands of the agent so that they can have a mechanism for self-improvement if they choose to. So this whole thing started about 6 years ago with a dashboard that we wrote where it's going to take information like call answer percentages, rotation percentages, occupancy, quality, errors, things like that, puts it into a convenient dashboard so your agents can log in every day and have an idea of how they're performing, if they're meeting your expectations or not. But it also provides them with a mechanism to identify their shortcomings and improve on those areas. It's also going to have error tracking, quality. It's got a timeline in there where they can see things that are happening around the company in an informal format. We also recently partnered up with a firm that does AI-driven quality assurance, which is a really great feature to use if you choose to. I think that's about all I have. If you guys want to stop by and see us, we're out there in the vendor area. It's hard to describe everything that the program does do over 5 minutes, but if you want to stop by for a quick demo, we'd be happy to show off our product. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Gray from WeHui. We're just in the back in the little frigid area. WeHui is an IT service provider located right here in Kingston. Our offices are at the wonderful Alliance Business Center. We have clients all across Canada and the US. Our strengths are in applied security, reliable networking, and virtualized infrastructure. What does that mean? We try to improve security and the infrastructure that goes along with it. We solve hard networking problems, including BGP, and we work with a couple ISPs. We provide guidance and support for moving to the cloud, leaving the cloud, or a mix of both, because no shoe fits everyone. We have a number of task clients. Some are here in the room today, and some are unfortunately out of the room today. What this means is we're familiar with important parts of your business. Working with vendors like Intelco is something we often do. Solving problems like notifications and emails not getting delivered can be a problem. Most importantly, we understand that your business is 24/7, and many of you bill by the minute. So when you're billing by the minute and revenue is measured by the minute, we're not looking at days or hours for support. It needs to be now and immediate. We have a special offer for CAMX, Kingston 2022 attendees. It's a product we call Sentinel Scans. And Sentinel Scans is a service we developed and built in-house. It's designed to be affordable, an easy step forward towards improving your security infrastructure. Sentinel Scans, it scans your external networks and services, things like web portals, remote access portals, firewalls, and other things that are exposed to the internet. Sentinel Scans look for problems and unexpected configurations on an ongoing basis. It cross-references its findings with databases on the internet used by security professionals and threat actors, so both sides. And we can identify security concerns before they happen. Some clients have found that it's helpful, especially when applying for cyber insurance. And when clients are asking what you're doing for security measures, you can say that you're scanning your external networks. Our complimentary scan is the full product, and one of our security engineers reviews it with you. And it's not just a scan, here's the report. We'll go through it with you and make sure that you understand it and what you need to do to fix it, whether it's with us or whether it's with someone else or your in-house IT team. That often is quite a good start. Looking forward to meeting with all of you. I'm Gray Hughes from WeHui. Thank you very much.
All these tall guys. Okay, so we actually have about 13 minutes now for a little stretch. I know that there is coffee in the exhibitor room. It wasn't a scheduled coffee break, but you do have some time. This room is going to be set up for an hour from 3:30 to 4:30 for your round table networking. And that's now you guys can all come back together. We've got some topics and stuff, but if you say, I don't want to talk about that, I want to talk about the panel that just happened, you can feel free to do that. Erica's going to set up the room, so in about 13 minutes, just come on back and we'll set it up for the networking for you. We're going to go back into the Gibraltar room so that you can have your own group networking. So you don't have